Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Sharice Walker, your host, and today I'm here with Victoria Noethling. And she has a fantastic message, and she's very accomplished when it comes to speaking, coaching, and even in the business realm. She was there for quite a long time. So, Vicki, why don't we have you introduce yourself to our guests?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Sharice, on this show. And I love talking to moms because so often moms, especially those that maybe left the workforce or never got in the workforce, start to have self-doubt uh, and forget that all these things that are making them this great mom are transferable skills to owning their own business and being that great mentor, great coach. And so I just love talking with moms and seeing how we can empower them to be confident in everything that they do. So I spent almost 45 years in the corporate world, 3 different companies. And the last company was a large transportation company that I spent 27 years. And 20 of those years I was as a project lead, project manager. And so you learn a lot about leadership in that corporate environment, and you have to understand the span of decades that I went in. So I started in the 80s and the 90s, where leadership style was much different than it needs to be today. And so when I retired in 2018, and I thought of all of the people I had been mentoring the last 10 years or so, I thought, retirement, 2 years of playing around, visiting places, traveling, that's about enough for me. I still love to travel, still want to go places, but I just think that there was a greater purpose for me. And there were so many people in my life that gave back to me to make me who I am today. And I just want to be that person for others, especially women, especially mompreneurs, because there is, as I said in the beginning, so much that you can offer. And so often we forget about all the things that we can bring to the table. We think that somebody else can do it better. Mm-hmm. We think that we're not good enough. We forget self-care. So my platforms are communication, leadership, and also anti-aging and wellness, because at 66, I still I feel like I'm 40 years old. and
Look like you're 40 years old.
So my stuff does work. But it's important. What is holding you back? What is keeping you stuck from being all that you can be? So as I said, I retired in 2018. In 2020, I decided to start my own business. And by 2021, I was in it and decided I've been volunteering doing this for so long. And during COVID, I was a region advisor for Toastmasters, where I coached and counseled and trained online 5 different districts, so thousands of people. And I thought, you know what? I like doing this. I think I'm going to continue. And then mid-October, I did a project and for Toastmasters on podcasting. And I thought, oh my gosh, I remember the days that I used to watch Mike Douglas, Oprah Winfrey, and think it would be so cool to interview people. And so that was my next adventure. I found somebody, Adam Homey, who does the Reach system, created my podcast in 3 months and launched it. And now, almost 500 podcasts later, I found something that I truly love to do, to have that vehicle to introduce my audience, just as you do, to people that can help them, that you're not alone. Being an entrepreneur can be very lonely, but you don't have to be. There are people that are out there that have skills and understanding that can help you. So that's what I do today.
That is fantastic. And I love that you have taught so many people and you've been involved in so many things. I think you are very, what's the word, modest, because your bio even goes into more detail about everything that you've done, and it's quite an accomplishment.
Thank
Our
you.
listeners that don't know, can you expand a little bit on what Toastmasters is?
Awesome. Yes. Toastmasters is the best kept secret. It is 100 years old this October. And so I got involved in Toastmasters in 1998. I was the way I became a supervisor of this large transportation company was my mentor was the CIO. And he filled out the application for management and said, sign here. I believe in you. And that was my first step. And I thought, okay. And he says, oh, by the way, I'm starting a new group and you're going to be the supervisor of 9 people. And so, of course, panic started, all those things that I talked about earlier. And I thought, how am I going to do this? And he was the most skilled speaker, interviewee that I had ever met. He loved to tell stories. He loved to be engaged. And he would have me sit and listen to his interviews over the phone interviews with large magazines. And I would watch him just captivate an audience. And I thought, I really want to help my nonprofits, and I don't have a lot of money like he does. And so I have time, but I have 2 kids. I don't have a lot of time. How can I do this? How can I get their message across? And so I got introduced to this organization that teaches leadership and communication skills. And it's evolved now to having a tremendous digital education program called Pathways. But in that, you find how you can grow as a speaker to be more confident and to be able to impact people's ability to understand your message. So you learn that it isn't just the message, it isn't just the words, but how you say things that will be able to touch people's hearts. And from a nonprofit standpoint, it was really important that I could tell the stories of those people to make people not only want to get involved, but open their purses. And so I learned that each week I could practice my skills and get better and better. And then, oh, by the way, as a supervisor, I had to evaluate people and to advise them and coach them and how best to do that they wouldn't cry or they wouldn't say, oh gosh, she's such a terrible manager or supervisor. I wanted them to do more than they thought they could be able to do. So just as that CIO saw more in me than I saw in myself, that's what I wanted to be able to do for my people, so that in this new group was creating things that never had been created before. And so there was challenge, there was failure, and get back up and failure. And so I needed to be able to be persuasive and motivational and all those things and lead with my heart. And so Toastmasters gave me my voice. And so I was able to go through being a club officer for years, to being a district officer, to being a regional officer, and now to coach people professionally. But Toastmasters was that ground where, for such a minor cost, I mean, it's a pair of shoes, or a good meal with your husband a year, that allows you to grow as a confident speaker and leader.
That's great. And so you mentioned leading with your heart. And so you have a platform or a coaching program where you talk about leading with your heart, your head, and your hands. So can you expand on that a little and why we should use all three?
Yes. So as I mentioned, I started my leadership path in the 80s, and it was from the receiver of leadership in that time. And it was more of a my way is the highway kind of leadership style that was prevalent. A lot of the leaders that I was really in senior leadership were all men. There were some women, but it was interesting that most of those women were acting like men as they were leading. So it was how big is your hammer to get people to do what they you need them to do. This is how you do something, and there's no need for creativity or innovation. And it always strikes me as interesting because we oftentimes want people, we hire them and we want them to be innovative and brainstorm and creative, but all through school and college and our early working days, we're told what to do, how to do, when to do it. And there's no stretch of that muscle of creativity. So it's now we have the opportunity to figure out, how can I get somebody that maybe isn't confident enough to try something different and new to do that. And that's where you have to lead with the heart. You have to understand the people. A company is not made of the product and service. The company is made of people, individuals. They are the assets, the greatest asset of any company. And they will not stay if you don't make them feel wanted and honored and of value. And so how do you do that? You need to know individually what each person brings to the table and what they want. And what are their dreams? What are their aspirations? And how can you help them get that? All that, building those relationships, is so important to any leader. But so many times we have the bottom line, we have the financial statements that are driving us to what we should do and how we should lead. And if you don't meet those goals, then you're punished for it, or you're downgraded or made to feel that you aren't of a value to the person, that you're afraid to fail because of the reaction that you'll have. So that means you're not going to be creative. You're not going to be innovative. So how do I get to know that person to be able to make them feel safe as they grow in leadership, as they grow as an employee, an asset to that company? So you have to lead with the heart. It takes time. It is individualized. It's not one shoe fits all, but it is so worth it in the end. So when you have the people knowing and trusting you and believing in themselves, then you can start to bring in the head, sharing the vision and the strategy and how they are important to that vision and strategy, what they do, even if it's not directly seen by your customer or your clients, is important to making your goals happen. It's the small things that they do. And so then they start to understand how they can contribute. They start to see the value in leading others through example. And now the final piece is the hands. And that's the servant leader that we all need to be. That you learn so much when you give of yourself, not expecting anything back, that all of a sudden those gifts start to come back to you. So that's why I say, to lead in the 21st century, you have to lead with your heart first, your head, and then your hands.
Love that. That's great. And I think that part of that goes, you mentioned fear and courage make a great leader. And so sometimes the fear is being vulnerable and showing people that you care and that you're human. Just because you're a manager doesn't mean that you can't show the empathy, show the heart. I think sometimes people think that they're trying to accomplish more things and it makes them look vulnerable, when in reality, you're just trying to connect with them. The next question I have, you talk about, obviously, some of our womanpreneurs and mompreneurs, when we are selling a business or selling a product, or we're selling a service, or we're trying to do something, we're working from home, we're trying to get things off the ground, video is something that's very important. I am a huge proponent on digital marketing and making sure that, people know who you are so that they can then choose you instead of somebody else. And so what are 3 tips that you can use or that you recommend that people use to improve video or your life?
I actually give away a free little handout called 5 on-camera essentials. And it is part of what I coach in my business. And I do it for free. I'll do a 30-minute session for you, free checkup of your setup, because I think it's so important that you do get comfortable in this online as well as in-person environment. But online, you need to know that the lighting that you have is good. And so that may be a small investment in a ring light. And then I have from Amazon, a three light, I guess it's a standing lamp, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so it allows enough front light to have you be clear, so that the person, when your lighting is good, they kind of forget that you're on camera with them. And it's easier to have the conversation with the audience out there. The second piece is the position of you and the camera. So the camera on laptops, newer laptops, is generally pretty good. But the problem is it's not the right height. So if you have it on the desk, right now it's on my desk and it's low down here. And so if for me to look at that camera, I would have to be looking down like this, which now I've disengaged you with my eyes. And that is not great. So you can, without making a big investment, just get a box or something and set the camera up higher so that it's eye level, that little dot is eye level with you. So you're connecting with them. Now, you also, if you want to go to the next level, you can just, for like $179 or above, you can get a Logitech camera that I have on a $19 stand that telescopes to be the height I need it to be. And now I always can have my eyesight directly to you. So when I'm looking at you, I now am connecting with you.
Yep.
And that's so very important. And then you'll say, well, Vicki, I'm looking at a dot. I mean, how engaging can that be? Yeah. So a tip that I have is just put a picture of like I just showed Jerry's, my little puppy. So put a picture of the little puppy right above that dot, or your child, or your husband, or your mom, or somebody that you are talking to them then. And therefore, it's connecting, it's engaging. Again, your audience is forgetting that they're talking to a screen. So that's your camera, your lighting is two big things. And the positioning of you. If we go back to that laptop, if I have my laptop on the floor, then you're not only seeing my head, you're seeing other things, and and also your monitor should be set in third, so that the top third should be your eyes, and then the middle third, and then the bottom third, so your torso shows somewhat again. So it's just not my head that's talking to you, which really kind of weirds out people, whenever you just have this big old head in the screen. It's like the talking head type of thing. But you want to, so ideally, I have a standing desk, again, an investment you don't have to make immediately, but the standing desk allows me to be able to move, and you see my whole torso, to be able to move around. And now again, you're starting to forget that this is on video. My microphone is on a stand, so I can move wherever I need it to be. I had for probably 2 years just used my earbuds, and that was my sound. My Logitech actually has the ability to have the sound, and so I used that for a little while. And then for a very, very small investment, I think under $300, I got this Samsung a microphone, and the sound is tremendous. And it's just the USB, but it can be adapted if you get really fancy schmancy into a soundboard and be able to do things. But those are things that are really important as you're engaging online. You have to have good sound. You have to have good lighting. You have to have good camera. And people then will forget. You want to be able to engage as much as possible. So you do that with your eyes. You do that with your voice. You do that with your gestures, all those things. So those are the tips that we have. My last tip for that is to have fun. When you're on camera here. If you screw up, you screw up, if the dog barks, bring the dog into the video. If it's just to be authentic and be yourself, so that person that you're trying to teach to be engaging won't be panicking that they're trying to be perfect. I always say perfect is boring. The best videos that you watch over and over is when somebody does something stupid
True.
and you think, oh, well, if she could do that, I guess I could do that too.
Yep.
It's not to make a fool of yourself just for the sake of making a fool of yourself, but it's just to know that your earphones might fall out in the middle of your session and you just put them back in and it's okay because that's what happens. And understanding that that's what happens and it's okay. You just adjust, you just pivot.
Yep. Because there's a difference between real and movie. And I think that a lot of people, the more you are authentic, the more views. I mean, it's been proven time and time again that if you have more, if something like that happens, like me sitting in a hotel room and facing the door so you don't see my husband laying in bed, then that um that you have to make sure that you are authentic. And
Yeah.
I think people, the more that you're real, the more you can connect, because we all are trying to get through life, especially as moms,
Yeah.
juggling all the kids. So my last question for you is what type of advice? Imagine you sitting on a park bench and this big pregnant woman comes up to you that she's 9 months pregnant. It's her first child. She's holding her back because she's so big and ready to pop. And if you could give her advice at any stage, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be just a new mom. What advice would you give her?
I end my podcast saying life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride.
Mm-hmm.
So having been married for 46 years now, 2 kids, 2 grandkids, you want to be able to be present
Right.
for those kids. And I think, as I look at a lot of young moms today, they're trying to be the Pinterest or Instagram kind of mom,
Mm-hmm.
where everything works out always, that your kids are always cute and doing cute, wonderful things, that your meals are perfect, never burnt, you're never frazzled. You never have to give pizza 2 days in a row because you didn't plan them in. Well, no, that's not real. So your kids will do wonderful things. My mom had 7 kids, and we were all one after another until the sixth kid, who was 12 years different. And she started to be able to notice little things that my little sister did. And then when I got engaged, my mom got pregnant. So 20 years younger than me is my final brother. And with that child, everybody was in middle school, high school, and married. And my mom and dad actually got to enjoy being parents, to be able to see the first walking moment, the first time, the cute things that they do, the crazy things that they do. And I think so often we miss those things because we might for our first child, because there's no other distractions. But when you start to add to the second child and third child, you miss a lot. And you just are trying again to be perfect and do everything. And you need to be able to set an example for those kids that it's okay to do nothing,
Mm-hmm.
to sit and enjoy the clouds,
Yeah.
looking at the sunsets and pointing those things out. When you hear the birds chirping in the morning, make that known to your kids, how wonderful it is. Life will pass you by if you don't stay in the present. The past is the past. You can't worry about it. Spilled milk. The future, you don't know about it. If you worry about it, you're going to miss what's going on today. So live for today.
I love that. It's great advice, and I 100% support it. Well, Vicki, specifically our listeners, if they want to find you, how do they get a hold of you?
So there's a lot of ways to get in touch with me. You can go onto my Facebook page, Victoria Noethling. I also have a Find Your Leadership Confidence website. That's a great way to connect with me, see my podcast, set up a meeting with me, be a guest on my podcast. All mompreneurs, I would love to have some mompreneurs on my guest list. You can also go to Instagram, LinkedIn. I do a lot of business on LinkedIn. So all of those I will give for the show notes, but You can find me just by my name. And again, the website is findyourleadershipconfidence.com. My YouTube channel for all my podcasts is also Vicki Noethling, just as you see it on the screen right now.
Fantastic. Well, Vicki, thank you so much for coming on. And it's been a delight. You have so much wisdom and information to share. And we didn't get to all of it. So anyway, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Yes. And for our mompreneurs, please take some advice that, especially as a mother, that you just need to live in the present. And that goes for your business as well. If you worry about the future, if you think about the mistakes you've made, just learn from them and do your best today and move forward. So go make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Sharice Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Sharice Walker.